All right, another GX470 water leak. This is Adam with Avalon Auto. We do 50 plus GX470s a year, build a lot of them. And when you do that many of the same vehicle, you find all their problems. So I've done a couple of videos on the rear belt moldings leaking. This one did have those leaking, but it wasn't very severe. It was dripping a little bit through it when we water tested it. So we went ahead and changed them all out and water tested again after the silicone dried. If you've seen my other videos, I put a bead of silicone around each clip before we snap them into place. And then we let that cure for a day and re-water test it. The water test during when the belt moldings were in the previous ones, it was leaking a little bit in this area, but it was also leaking back here. I assumed it was just running down the channel, but that was not the case. Once we got the belt moldings in, replaced, silicone, sealed, cured, we re-water tested it, and there was a pretty significant amount of water, not when we're spraying on the windows. Well, I first did just the windows, and it was dry. So I'm like, okay, cool, that's better. But then I tested the roof, and it was leaking back in this area on both sides. So that was pretty far back from the belt molding, so we had to keep looking. I've seen this 2 or 3 times on GX470s, exceptionally common on Priuses and a couple other Toyota Hatchbacks, Matrix and such. The body seam, so where the quarter panel meets the roof, pretty much all the way down. The rears on the hatchbacks are almost always like this. So what I do, because this section you could just patch, but I'm going to show you there's often a little bit more starting all the way down. So we take the roof rack off. We generally keep all the bolts in place just so they, don't drop in. They are clipped, but sometimes those clips are shifted. And then we take a flowable silicone and put a bead down the entire ridge. So flowable silicone is meant for like windshields, glass sealer, but basically because it flows into and around all those little spots, it's a perfect option for this. But the reason I take the entire rack off and all the channels and clean everything thoroughly, we can simple green it, soak it, scrub it with a brush, get all the dirt and grime out, and then we use an air compressor with an air gun just to blow everything out, let it sit for a minute, and then we'll run that silicone bead down the whole thing. You see a little bit of body line cracks. These are not currently letting water in, but the chance that they may in the future is there. So just like you would with like a bathroom caulk or something, I use a glove and just run my finger down that channel to smooth everything out. Once that's done and sits and cures, we're gonna let this sit overnight, cure, re-water test it probably tomorrow afternoon. It says it's cured in 24 hours. And pray that there's no more water leaks. But these are common on GX470s. I just did a full vinyl wrap roof and a Sherpa rack on my wife's 06 GX this past weekend. And when I did it, I noticed the same thing. Pretty much the whole line had a pretty good sized gap. We haven't noticed water in the back, but the problem with these Lexus carpets, it's got so much insulation and sound deadening material, and then the underside of this carpet is rubber. So water is not gonna go through that and make this wet, ever. You're gonna notice it at the edges, because these edges will get so soaked, you'll start to notice the discoloration. But until you take these out completely, you won't really know how far gone you are, how bad of a water leak you've got. So we take everything out of the back. It's the only way to properly dry it. Everything comes out, side panels, quarter panel trims, all this, all the carpet. Generally during the drying process, I'll take the trim pieces around those feet just so I can pull that carpet back and confirm if the water leak's bad enough, it will go into that middle section. I've only seen that on one, not this one luckily. but you've got to put a dehumidifier in here. We've got a couple in our shop that we use when cars get back from detail. One of these air mover fans. We've got plenty of those laying around, and let it run overnight for a day. Let it suck all the moisture out of here, because a lot of these leaks have been going on for a long time, and there's really just no way to tell until it makes its way up and over that edge of the carpet. A lot of times you'll get a bad smell. This one, we did not have a bad smell. I never noticed it. Sometimes you'll get condensation on the inside of the glass. You'll notice that. That means there's water in the car somewhere. But Adam with Avalon Auto, GX470 water leaks. We've done belt moldings, we've done sunroof drains, we've done rear trim, weather stripping occasionally. This one was doing it as well. You'll have so much buildup and grime back in here. You got to pull this thing off and clean that area so this will sit properly, and then take a spray silicone, just like a lubricant silicone, and lube this whole thing up. Clean it first and then lube it so it actually makes a nice mating surface with the back of the door. And when you have that water leak, you'll notice water on the inside of these panels. When you have that, it's going to be there. If it's on the front floorboards, it's 90% of the time your sunroof drains. If it's this back carpet, 75% of the time it's going to be your belt moldings. The other 25% is going to be these body line cracks. You know, Toyota Lexus make a fantastic machine. Body, you know, water leaks. I guess because I've had hundreds of these things over the years as a dealer, I've become pretty good at finding them, and these typically have them, unfortunately. Love me a Lexus still though, still own two.